You guys ready to do funniest thing from the sports weekend? Everyone ready? A lot of funny stuff. How do you feel about the funny stuff this weekend, Chris? Was there a lot of funny stuff? Medium funny stuff?
I'd say medium rare.
All right, medium rare. Okay, Guillermo, also put it on the poll. Who's more annoying, Patrick Mahomes' brother or Patrick Mahomes' fiance? Let's do funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is brought to you by CBD MD.
Chris Cody, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I mean, there's one right answer here. Everyone's playing for second place. Witty's first attempt at shotgunning a beer last night.
Adorable.
It was as bad. The entire Miller Lite ended up on the couch and on the floor, correct?
I was given bad instructions.
That's not true. You watched a YouTube video before.
I didn't. I saw I stopped at cutting the hole and I thought I had it down pat, but I guess I needed to keep going.
You never got to the YouTube video?
No, I mean I watched it without I watched it Dan style. I watched it without the sound on.
Oh my god!
You watch YouTube videos the way the rest of us read articles.
I was sat on the couch in the middle of the show trying to figure out how I was going to do this because at some point I knew the attention was going to turn to me, try and shotgun a beer, and so I tried to put it together as quickly as I could. But you know what? I learned. I took in some coaching, and I thought the second one went pretty well.
What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I'm going to go with Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals. The coat that he was wearing while receiving the AFC Championship trophy. Good. It's a coat that you would wear if you were trying to stack two people on top of each other in the movies and have a coat cover the both of you.
Like a trench coat?
Yes, it was a trench coat, but bigger.
Yeah. Billy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The halftime show at the AFC Championship game drowning out the CBS halftime show.
It was so loud. Boomer Esiason said at one point, I heard nothing you said. I'm going to talk now. He turned it like to Nate Burleson. Because there was a giant Booms box behind Booms. Like, what was that?
Boom box?
No, I called it Booms box because of Booms. I didn't throw an extra S in there because he just did Booms.
Booms box.
Jessica, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
What happened?
It was a guy at the Chiefs game eating a steak with his bare hands while his female friend next to him had two different beers, double fisting.
Were you envious of the guy eating steak on a stick?
Honestly, yes, I was very envious. It looked a little overcooked for me, though, but I respected the play.
I mean, beasts eat steak that way. Like what? Like what is that? Bare hands with a steak? What's wrong with you?
Oh, let me just pull out my fancy knife and fork and tuck a napkin into my shirt because I'm at the Chiefs game and I need to be fancy. No, it's a football game. You gotta get dirty. The blood all over your hands.
Don't eat a steak if you're not going to eat it with a fork and knife.
This is just sad.
Could you ever imagine just grabbing a piece of steak and
yes.
gnawing it? I mean, that's.
I did it yesterday.
The fashion choices on this show today as a result of the cold are astounding. Witty's wearing gloves.
It's cold in here,
Lewis
man.
is wearing a ski hat that covers his face, like his nose.
It's 55 degrees
And I'm wearing
here.
this puffy jacket. Like, it's a bit excessive by all of us.
55 degrees out.
It's 45 in the studio, Dan. My nose is dripping.
Real feels like 32.
I wish I had a steak to warm my hands.
Billy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The halftime show at the AFC Championship game, the music was so loud.
My
it
bad.
went over the CBS
Jessica,
screen.
what was the funniest thing from the Booms
The guy
box?
with the steak.
Chris Cody, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Witty shotgunning a beer down.
Witty, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Mike Brown as Inspector Gadget.
Mike Ryan, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The Philadelphia 76ers welcomed great luminaries to their Lakers game, and they posted Dr. J on their screen, and they misspelled his last name.
Oh, man.
Julius Erving spelled like Kyrie spells his last name instead of the way Dr. J spells his last name. That is a legend for the Sixers.
Not how you spell it?
Misspelled his name in front of their own fans.
I legitimately
Spell
thought
it J.
when you said that, yes, I legitimately thought it was J-A-Y that they had misspelled, that they had gotten that part wrong because I made Dr. J's last name J.
Dr.J.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Should Julius Erving's last name be Irving or J? Stugotz, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The great Greg Cody dressed as Walter Mercado. Hashtag Mercado Schlong.
He didn't try at all.
He's the best.
He wore a cape and lipstick, and that is a dishonor to what it is that everything that Walter Mercado was doing with his the late part of his life.
Then we got in the car. He's like, "That was fun." I was like, "You always win."
How drunk was he going home? How was he in general? How was he feeling? Because I couldn't believe. I thought the funniest thing of the sports weekend was us finishing up our show last night, and Greg Cody has 10 minutes of podcast he's got to do.
Just done.
And 30 seconds after introducing his podcast, he says, "You guys take it over from here. I'm out of gas."
That's how you do it.
And it wasn't a question posed to anyone. It was just like, please, someone else go.
He just kept saying that the games were fantastic. He had no opinions, nothing to say, and then he just threw it to us.
Check it out. Greg Cody Show today.
Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
With Greg Cody.
What about you, Stugotz? I want to do you again. What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Greg Cody dressed as Walter Mercado. Hashtag Mercado Schlong.
How does he always win, Chris?
I mean,
he's lovable.
He's the most genuine of all of us. Like, it's the least amount. Like, we all, like, we sometimes play into something. He is just him.
Did you make the choice between him and Billy Corbin yet? Or no? Because he laid down an ultimatum.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you guys on whether we should have censored what Billy Corbin said?
My dad's sensitive. I think he didn't say anything that's worth censoring. I mean, he just was mean.
But he believes
your dad was very upset.
The reason
my dad is sneaky, very sensitive.
The reason your father was mad at me,
Not so sneaky.
He was not mad. He was angry at me than he was at Billy Corbin for saying it. He's angry at me for airing it. And I'm looking at him sideways like, what do you mean? I'm not going to cut it out. I don't even understand what he was asking me. Like, he works in journalism. Like, what do you mean cut it out?
You can't censor another journalist. Greg should know that, right?
Right. It would be like if the Dolphins called him and be like, "Hey, that column you wrote about Stephen Ross, take out that line about everything that Stephen Ross has done wrong while owner of the Dolphins. Like, you, for a living, you write criticism."
But if that's the place that the stand's being taken, Billy, I understand that everyone loves Cody and everyone prefers Cody hijinks to Billy Corbin railing against the corruption in this city. But if the stand on getting rid of Billy Corbin is that we should have censored Billy Corbin, how can we ride with that?
I think people choose fun over journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to run off Billy Corbin because we should?
If we have to.
Yeah,
if it means Greg's
if we're
not
gonna
coming
lose
back.
Greg, and
right,
again, this
yes.
double Billy situation is very confusing here at the office.